And we're live. We're live. What's up, everybody? I'm here with Justin Rigney, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself. He'll tell you all a little bit about his business, and then we'll jump into the interview. Justin, you having some
Are we
technical
ready?
difficulty? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm driving at the moment, man. So my signal may cut in and out.
Nah, man, you're fine, man.
Big deal.
Yep. So, Justin is from K9 Services Unlimited, um, and he's based in Tennessee now. Correct?
Yes, sir. Right outside Knoxville, in a little town, little county called Loudon.
Okay.
We're about 30 miles southwest of Knoxville. And yeah, I moved up there 3 years ago. I retired as a cop down in Florida. I was in K9 down there about 10 years of my career. I worked 3 dogs, one of which I bred, saw him born on my living room floor, raised him up, and I became a patrol dog, man. So that was super cool to see him evolve. And my second dog was purchased by the agency, man. I was his biggest fan.
Okay.
He had a really good career. And then the third dog was a dog named Zeke. I still have him. I kept him when I retired. He was brought into the country by my friend Bobby Sidhu at 8 weeks old, German Shepherd, good pedigree, brought in at 8 weeks. I helped Bobby train him until he was about 4 months old, started teething. Bobby got busy with his personal business. And around 7 months old, I bought Zeke from Bobby, and Zeke became my last patrol dog. So, two of my 3 patrol dogs, I've had my hands on them since they were young, which has been a cool experience, man. So, I've been training dogs about 30. Sorry?
No, I was asking where did Zeke come from?
A guy named Jan Cox, who's a real well-known IPO guy over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can spit out some good, decent kennel names, man, but I'm not really a pedigree guy. I'm a dog in front of me. A dog.
Yeah.
I'm a dog in front of me guy, man. I can throw out some buzzword pedigrees, man, but I work the dog in front of me. Blood doesn't really much matter, but
yeah.
So, that was a cool experience, man, to raise those dogs and see them, do their jobs on the road. That was super cool, man. And I've been training dogs about 30 years, and I started in, dog training as a civilian, and then got into IPO Schutzen back in the day in the 90s. And the club that I worked at in Connecticut, I grew up in Connecticut. We shared a facility with Connecticut Police Work Dog Association, which was a Napawata organization. I linked up with those guys. They put me in a suit, man. I fell in love and wanted to become a cop and get into K9, and went to Florida and did that, man. And I spent 17 years as a cop in South Florida, saw some wild shit, and got to do some cool shit. It's the wild, wild west down there, man. So fast forward, man, 3 years ago, I retired, and my wife and I moved up to Tennessee. And I always had 2 full-time jobs, man. I always was a cop, working 50, 60 hours a week, and then had 5 or 6 boarding trains in. The agency that I worked for down in Florida had about 4,000 employees, man. So my phone never stopped ringing for boarding trains, man. So I had just a waiting list to board them out. And then moving into a new market up in Tennessee, man, I had to jump on social media, which was completely foreign to me, man. I'm an idiot with computers. I'm okay with a leash, man. But, man, it drove me nuts, bro. So I had to learn how to use iMovie because I'm an Apple guy, and edit, and get out there and reach, which is cool, man, because you and I never would have found each other and had this opportunity to talk tonight, man. So it's got its advantages and disadvantages, but all in all, I think it's a positive for sure.
Yeah, definitely a positive. Definitely. So you've been training dogs for over 30 years. Is there a particular type of training you like to do over another?
I'll tell you, man, my passion and the adrenaline dump is in the police dogs, man. There's no experience you could really quite have with a dog, in my opinion, like hunting a human being on scent, being on track, knowing you're close, the dog telling you you're close, and then you make contact. It's very, very hard to explain that to somebody else. And a lot of us grew up playing sports and stuff, man. I would put it above winning the World Series, man. It's an amazing feeling. But For me, I really learned how to train dogs doing pet training.
Okay.
Because, the dogs that we have for law enforcement are working dogs. They're Ferraris, genetic Ferraris built to race on the racetrack, man. Not to say that the training isn't difficult, but they're genetically predisposed to behave in the ways that we want, that we can manipulate for our benefit, for our purposes. When you get a pet dog into your program, man, who's been an empowered little punk his whole life, has no drive, super weak nerves, could give a shit about your food, your toys, your engagement. And then when you can put them into your system and then put them through the paces and have the dog actually enjoy the work, speak dog to him and have him get through your program and look like he really enjoys it and be proficient, be under stimulus control, but still have, an attitude, have spirit. For me, that's taught me a lot. Having my hands on thousands and thousands of dogs, man, of all different makes and models, it makes you pull out all the stops as a trainer. And that for me has really taught me dog training.
Okay. Yeah. So what? I know you said the working dog is probably the pet dogs helped you learn how to train, but the working dogs are your favorite.
They are, man. I've been in the suit, 25, 30 years, and I've been in some really bad car wrecks on duty, so my body's banged up, sports injuries. So if I can sit in a lazy boy with a clicker and do detection, man, I'm happy. So I really like detection and nose work, man. That's really fascinating stuff to me, and I believe we've only scratched the surface of the dog's abilities and their talents.
Yeah. So in your business is a family-owned business, right?
It's mom, pop, my wife, and I. Actually, it's my wife. I work for her. I know my role.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I'm sure when she sees this, she'll say the same thing. Yeah. And you said you were a cop. I saw on your website that you guys started like a group in Florida. Was it Flecka?
I was one of the original. Yeah, it was called the Florida Law Enforcement Canine Association, and I was one of the original founding members.
Okay.
And we provided certifications in every aspect of training, tracking, obedience, detection, patrol, search and rescue. We provided also human remains detection certification. Okay. And we also started providing a lot of seminars. And I ultimately became the president of that organization for a couple of years, and then retired and moved on. But I do believe it's still in existence.
Okay.
And there's a lot of good dogs down there, a lot of good handlers and good dogs in South Florida for sure.
Yeah. So if what would you tell somebody that's getting their first dog and knows nothing about training? What advice would you give them?
For pet or working dog?
For a pet. We're gonna start with the pets.
Well, I'll tell you a little quick story, man. And I broke my wife's heart when I explained this to her when we got together. And I ended up breaking a lot of hearts of pet owners, man, is that there is not one single behavior a dog does to please a human being. Now, the results of their behavior may please you, but it is not the animal's intent to please the human. And I have this debate with canine guys all the time, man. My patrol dogs did not stick their nose down on the disgusting pavement in South Florida in August. It's like an inferno for belly rubs and biscuits, man. He did not do that to make me happy. He wanted to hunt. He wanted to find. He wanted to fight and bite. That's the sole purpose of him tracking some bad people. It's the same thing for your pet training. Like, every single dog on earth is out to find their advantage in every situation, to better their situation, to increase good feelings, and to avoid unpleasant feelings. And they come to you to get their ass scratched and their belly rubbed and beg at the table, not for you to feel like, to make you think that they're cute. They have a very specific purpose for every single behavior they do, 24/7. So, human beings lie, they talk shit, they get on social media with fake profiles, say things they don't mean, daydream, stargaze, bro. Dogs don't. Dogs have a very specific purpose for everything that they do. And when you can identify their reason for what they do, and it's to meet their instinctual needs as a predator. And then once you understand, it's like it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, man. It's, you know, food, shelter, water, you know, a pack, housing. You know, these very basic needs are out to, you know, fulfill these instincts. So
how do you unlock that? Is it, I'm sure like it's different with every dog because each dog has its own personality.
for sure.
But what do you feel like is key?
Well,
To figuring it out?
anthropomorphism is the deadliest poison in dog handling, dog training, pet ownership. They are not children. They are not humans. They don't have human emotion. They have emotion, but they do not have human emotion. And to understand that, you have to speak dog. And the greatest gift a pet owner, a canine handler, a sport competitor can do is treat their dog like a dog. And that does not mean withholding anything or abusive. It means simply speaking to them on the level that they understand. As human beings are the dominant species on earth, right? So it's our job and our responsibility to communicate with a dog on their level in a means that they can grasp and understand. Okay. So the greatest connection you can make to a dog as a predator, and the way to a dog's heart is through their stomach, 100%. Okay. Now, every single dog's got different degrees of food drive, and it's the one drive over prey drive with aggression, all kinds of different drives, and we can break down drives into all kinds of little micro drives, but yeah, food drive is the one we can truly increase with the way we distribute the food, the way we give them opportunities. It's you hold the key. They all want to eat. They all want to eat. They will not die by starvation. And you always offer them opportunities, and the way they connect with the dog. I got dogs that are so picky at home because they have a Golden Corral buffet to eat all day long. When I grab that same kibble and put it in my pouch and make a little bit of a mystery about when it's coming out and how to engage for it and how to manipulate me to reach in the pouch to give them the food, it becomes super interesting because they want to hunt. They want to hunt the behavior. They want to hunt to figure out what is the mystery to get that food out of the pouch. And by simply making the food available that way instead of free in a bowl, stimulates the dog and speaks to their instinct in a way that they understand. Okay. So to me, that's the golden key. So no matter what application, if it's pet training, if it's police canine, if it's sport competitor, I don't have a dog food dish. I have a pouch, and the dog's rations go into my pouch or into my pocket, and we engage and we get busy for it.
Okay. Yeah, I saw a video on your page where you were taking the food. I don't know if it was you. It might have been somebody else, but they were taking the food out of their pouch, and at the end they put the whole pouch on the ground.
Yes. Yep. We call that jackpotting. So, you know, as dog trainers, we don't want to be a communist, right? No matter how good they do, they get one kibble. So I like to be a capitalist when I train dogs. So if the dog gives me a big effort, we hit the target, and maybe 4 or 5 repetitions into the training session where I had a plan to do a 10-minute session. We're 30 seconds in and the dog hits the target with all kinds of effort, enthusiasm. Boom, it's over. They get everything in one shot. So they learn greater effort, greater paycheck.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful with that sometimes, man, because that also means training's over.
Yeah. So
sometimes they see the pouch come off, they're like, yo, I don't want it all because I like the games. So depending on, I had puppies that I had were 8 weeks old, man. 8 weeks old. By the 3rd session, they got jackpotted because I would drop to a knee, take the pouch off and let them eat. As soon as I hit the knee, they take off. Because they know, because I'm busy, man. I got other dogs to work. So they get the jackpot on my knee. I'd scoop them up when they're done, bring them back to their pen and switch dogs. They knew that after 3 sessions at 8 weeks old, that jackpot was the end of the game. So they ran from it. So you got to be careful with that too.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I saw that you were a judge as well. Like, so is that for like sports shows?
Well, that was a certifying official for that FLECA organization. So no, that just simply means that I'd certify police dogs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how do you become a judge? What do you have to do for that?
I think you got to be a handler for 5 years. I think you have to. I forget the criteria, man. You got to train a certain number of dogs to a certification standard.
Okay.
And then you're brought in as a certifying official.
Okay. So I got a comment, but he said, but that is to humans too, and I think he was talking about the food drive.
He's right. That's me. buy me lunch and we're friends forever, man. So no, but it is, man. We have our basic needs too, obviously. There's emotion attached to that, but for sure, man, food is the key. It is the key.
Is it always kibble? Like, do you always use kibble, or do you use other stimuluses?
Yeah, I try not to go for the high value, man. If we're always using caviar, and at some point the caviar wears off, man, then where do you go? So I like to use kibble because I know I'm meeting their nutritional needs. You know, I use Royal Canin adult German Shepherd food.
Okay.
It's expensive as shit, bro.
It is
it's
expensive.
It's high dollar. It's a shepherd. Now they have breed specific food. The reason I use German Shepherd is because the kibble is massive, right? So it's very easy to distribute in training, where if you have the little pellets, man, or like little BBs, they fall everywhere and the dogs end up vacuuming more than they engage. So, and also with a large kibble, if you watch my videos, I do a lot where I'll throw a piece of food.
Yeah, you're breaking.
So if I'm working on recalls, I'll release the dog. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit.
Oh, my bad. So the Royal Canin's a very large kibble. So it's like, and I'll throw a lot of food too. Like I'll only throw one piece at a time, but I throw food a lot with a lot of frequency. I'll chase it. And I always throw one, not multiple pieces, because then it becomes a hunting game. But they know they snatch one, then they come flying back for a handful. So I do a lot of my shaping of my recalls. And also, man, if you ever notice, like, you're chipping away at a lot of repetitions of, say, of down, you're working down. You do 10 reps in a row, then on 11, all of a sudden the dog forgets it or says, I'm over it.
Yeah.
By throwing the food, like, the dog's time, right? You know about how many reps in where they're going to start checking out. So just before that, I release them and throw the food. That becomes a mental reset for the dog. Oh, so they break position, they go chase the food down, they snatch it, and they come back invigorated, ready for more reps.
Okay. Yeah. So I know it's easy to get frustrated when you're training.
Yep.
How do you deal with that? How do you keep yourself fresh mentally? So, like, if you just got a dog that's not getting it, like, they're just not locked in. They won't lock in. How do you get them to lock in?
Well, it kind of depends, man. So if it's what we call an ignition problem, if he's not engaged, he's not all about it, like trying to manipulate me for the food, then again, every dog's got their different levels, man. I got some dogs that will not take food. They'll take it for free, but they will not engage because of their nervous system. So sometimes I'll go to very light leash pressure using negative reinforcement to teach them. And I'll use place first because it's a super easy target. A little leash pressure to get their feet up on the board. Leash pressure stops the second the first paw goes up there. And a dog's motivated by things that feel good, but it's also motivated to stop slightly unpleasant feelings. So it's like a seatbelt alarm, like you get into a car, that annoying chime starts. You shut that annoying feeling off by buckling up. Well, I can teach the dog, you can shut that annoying feeling train. Their nervous system's fired up. Like, they don't know their environment. They don't know how to get their needs. Use the bathroom, relieve themselves. Who's who? There's dogs barking around them. It could freak a lot of dogs out.
Yeah.
So the analogy I use for the nervous system and hunger is like if you imagine like an elk chilling in Yellowstone, bro, eating the luscious green grass on God's green earth, and all of a sudden here comes the wolf peeking his head over the horizon. Well, now the elk's in full pursuit, bro. He's gone, and the wolf is in full pursuit of the elk who is fleeing, right? So the elk is running from the wolf. His nervous system now switches gears. The hunger is shut off. His hoofs are running across that lush green grass, but he's not even thinking about eating because his nerves are in flight. It's the same thing that a dog comes into your board and train, right? So what a little bit of leash pressure with a slip lead and some negative reinforcement knocks out the flight. It removes the option of flight. When the animal understands they're in control of that consequence by going to place and defeating that light leash pressure, it stabilizes the animal's nervous system. It's crazy. And then all of a sudden the hunger comes back. So, I'll give a dog a few days. And if it's just because they're like, I posted a doodle today, a sheepadoodle, just posted before we came live. And she's out of her mind, bro. Like out of her mind. Like she's got really good food drive, but the world is a very interesting place to this chick, man. Like she is cuckoo. So it took a little bit of light leash pressure to get her head to come out of orbit, and then to focus on the food to realize, hey, life's not about bouncing around like a kite at the end of the leash. It's about, engaging and working. And, she's doing well after 2 weeks, man. So it kind of, for me, I got to identify the root of why the dog's not getting it. And it's usually me, right? I'm the one that's not making sense to the animal, not showing him how to find his advantage. Yeah. So if there's too much external stimulus, there's too much distraction, I gotta go into a very sterile environment and shrink it down so he can get it.
Okay. And how long do you normally board?
So I got a 4-week basic program, which is an on-leash with an introduction into off-leash training. And again, it depends on the dog, how far they get. Then I have a 6-week advanced off-leash program. So those numbers are ballpark, man. So for me, when the owners come to me and say they just want the basic program, I tell them 4 weeks. But if the dog needs 5 because it's a nerve bag coming in, it's got a lot of issues engaging. There's some dogs because I use engagement, bro. I'm not going to force them to do things they don't want to. I've had some dogs it's taken me several days to even get them out of the kennel.
Yeah.
So if it takes them 5 weeks to get to the 4-week level, that's on me. And the same with a 6-week off-leash program. So.
Okay. And do you have like a basic price point for those, or does it vary by the dog?
No, I mean it's $2,500 for my 4 weeks, $35 for my 6 weeks, and okay. I'm starting to realize I'm a little bit on the cheaper side, man. So I might go through a price hike.
Yeah.
And I just jumped on board as a subcontractor with a company called Koru Canine. It's Koru. It's a company that was originally based out of California, but they're expanding their reach. They're opening up in a lot of different markets, and they're tapping into Knoxville. So I may be just doing subcontract work. They got a different pricing, which I haven't even internalized yet, man. I haven't got the first dog from them yet because we're still mapping out all the marketing campaigns and stuff. And they're reaching a lot of different markets. And Bridget and Ray are great people, man. And I know they got a lot on their plate. So, but there's good things coming with that. So they got a different price point, a different structure as far as packages that are offered. So yeah, I got to be taking a school on what's what with that.
Yeah.
But for right now.
Yeah, you're breaking up again. But I'm I'll pull this up for us. So this is a video that I saw on your page, and I thought this is a pretty good example of what you were talking about as far as can you explain to them what's going on here?
So now you see her rhythm now. So just after she's done chewing, right there, in that moment is where you want to say, look. So right when she's done chewing, look. Perfect.
Yeah.
Look. No, you want the word to be injected just as she does the behavior.
So with that, you want her to look at you before you click, or what you said when she does it?
Yeah. So what I was trying to teach Colby, and Colby's he's my new guy, man. He moved in my place, and he's an apprentice trainer, and he's helping out with everything, man. So what I'm walking him through is teaching him marking with a clicker, but also classical conditioning by giving the command at the proper time. So the dog is lit. She's she's a savage for food, man. And she's super lit. She's super engaged, offering all kinds of behaviors. So it was a good opportunity for him to learn when to inject a command. So much in modern dog training is that we're shaping behavior without even speaking. And I don't speak, or I don't name a behavior until the dog is doing it. And I can predict that the dog's going to do it every single time. And just as they do it, or a slight heartbeat second before they commit to the behavior, I then tag it with a name or the command that I want to use. So as he was going through the motions of, without speaking, she'd look at him, he'd click. So the marker the clicker announces to her, boom, she hit the target. And it's a promise that her paycheck is coming. So he learned that sequence. And then in that sequence, he picked up the rhythm and the timing of her behavior. And it gave him a really good opportunity to plug in the name, which we use the word look for that eye contact behavior.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So how long do you normally do this type of training right here?
Well, actually in the same video, because she knows it, she understands the behavior. She's teaching Colby. So what happens next in the same video is that the reward then becomes the distraction, right? So the food is in the pouch with empty hands. He says, look, she looks, he clicks, then the empty hand goes into the pouch, gets the food, and delivers it to the dog. So again, a marker is a bridge between dispensing the time that the behavior occurs and dispensing the reward. And that bridge can get longer and longer and longer. So what I do then is once he understands that sequence is that I then have him take the food out of the pouch, get a whole handful of food. He holds it off to the side of his body. So she looks at it as a distraction. And you see that super stimulating her because she goes, I know the reward's coming. She starts downing, she starts spinning, she starts thinking about barking, she sits, she offers all kinds of behaviors. And without Colby saying a word, she then goes, wait a minute, a couple seconds before eye contact paid me well. She then defaults back into that behavior. He marks that and then delivers the food. So we call that indirect reward, which means the reward placement where the reward is away from the dog. She commits to a behavior and then gets paid. Or we also call that impulse control, where the bait is available. She can see it. She can smell it. It's accessible. She's quick. She could probably snatch it from him, but she knows she must do an alternative behavior instead of staring at the food to get paid.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so how long does it normally take? How long did it take her to grasp this concept?
It's hard to say, man. They're all different, man. She's on another level, man. She was bred by Mohawks Malinois. Malinois up in Kentucky, man. They produce top dogs, top competitors. There's a dog in her bloodline named Outback Jack who's a hammer in IPO. So she's on another level, man. So that I just told him to do because I saw her getting it so well with him, and they've been training together for a couple of weeks, man. So
okay.
It's hard to say the exact timeline.
Yeah, and I think this is the video you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, so this is that sheepadoodle, Izzy. She's 7 months and super, super stimulated by everything in life. So, what I want to portray in this video, of course, as pet dog trainers, one of the biggest things, and we get a lot of complaints, jumping, but dogs being reactive in public during leash walks, and that was one of this owner's complaints. So I wanted to show that the dog can maintain proficiency, it can maintain an upbeat attitude, be fully engaged, do its target behavior under high levels of distraction, but not look like it's under pressure.
Yeah.
So she's 2 weeks in out of 4 weeks. And like I said, her mind was in orbit when she first got here.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it, man.
So she's come a long way.
Yeah. So you recommend the slip leash?
Well, it depends on the dog, man. It depends.
Okay.
Like I'm going to do everything with her, man. So I'm going to overlay prong, leash pressure, electronics with both slip and e-collar, or pinch collar. So she'll learn all the tools.
Okay.
I'm an absolutely balanced 4-quadrant trainer. She's going to understand. She's just already started getting pressure there in that video. She knows she had to check out. It's like she's found her advantage by avoiding the unpleasant, little annoying feeling that I can produce with a slip leash, and finding her advantage to stay engaged by making me produce her reward. So that's why you see her tail up. You can't see her eyes because she's got long hair, but her eyes are burning, man. She's staring at me, and her tail's going, and she's got floppy ears, but her body language is completely engaged. But she knows not to check out.
Okay. And as far as I know, you said a lot about like pressure and negative reinforcement. So for the people that don't understand that, what would you say?
Well, the seatbelt alarm is really the best way that I can make a human analogy to negative reinforcement. So what people have to understand about operant conditioning and the 4 quadrants of operant conditioning, which are negative reinforcement, positive punishment, which sounds completely bizarre, and then positive reinforcement. So what you have to understand in operant conditioning and using this terminology is that positive does not mean good and negative does not mean bad. Positive in the quadrants of operant conditioning means the addition of. So it can be the addition of a reward to reinforce a behavior, or it could be the addition of a correction to stop an unwanted behavior. So positive means adding, negative means removing. So with negative reinforcement, leash pressure to place is the seatbelt alarm. So the pressure, the unpleasant feeling starts before the behavior. And the way that that pressure is shut off by is achieving the behavior. So again, back to the seatbelt, you sit in the car, you turn the ignition on, you start Facebooking, boom, that bell starts going off, ding, ding, ding. And a lot of the modern vehicles, it gets louder and faster until you want to headbutt the steering wheel. And then you buckle it up to shut it up, right? So the annoying feeling starts, and then to reinforce the behavior, to make the behavior come, you shut it off by buckling up. Target achieved. Boom, pressure stops. So it's science-based, man, and it confused me for a long time. People that are training dogs are doing it, but some tech geek, man, some science geek put it into terms that make a lay person like me dizzy, and it's hard to figure out sometimes.
So got another question. He says, so do you think specific dogs do better with training, and why?
No. Nope. You know, I've had my hands on German Shepherds or Malinois that, you know, people believe they're protection dogs or high-speed obedience dogs. They're not. They're nerve bags, no food drive, you know. So no, I've had my hands on some mutts, man, some doodles that are lit, like out of like just a superior level of intelligence and engagement. So you can't generalize dogs anymore. They're just all so different, man. That's why I'm not a bloodline guy. I deal with the dog in front of me.
That sounds about right. So what about this? This always kind of intrigued me because most of these dogs are super powerful. The working dogs they're strong, to say the least. So how do you keep them from actually biting you in this situation? Because I'm sure the soup turns them on, like it hits the switch.
Yep. Well, so, you know, when it comes to aggression and dominance, man, there's no substitute or no cure like equal or greater aggression or dominance. So if a dog lays teeth on me, I have to have that conversation with him immediately in that moment that I'm not on the menu. And depending on the dog, the circumstances, the role players you have around you, and the access to certain tools, you can have that conversation, get in and out quick, and make him understand, okay, he's not the one. And a lot of times, you know, when you're doing aggression work, it's an impulsive behavior that's almost subconscious and involuntary. But the dogs sometimes don't. Now, I'm not saying that the protocol to stop it changes, but a lot of times dogs will do things impulsively and not even realize it. And some of these animals are so quick, bro. You'll get laced open in an eye blink and not even know what happened to you. And so, so if I know I have a dog that's got that twinkle in his eye for a handler, there's a protocol that I use, man. That, you know, it's not something that it's going to endanger the dog, but it's going to put that option in his brain to say, hey, it's not worth that. You know what I mean? So when it comes to dominance and aggression, man, I do not use electronics. I do not use prong for the most part. What I like is a dominant dog collar. So, you know, I'm a fan of the combat sports, man. I don't care how strong and big you are, what kind of striker you are, but if you get wrapped up, you can't breathe and there's no blood going to your brain, it's lights out and you can't fight. So when a dog's the same thing, man. And on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, oxygen is one of those high value commodities to a predator. So if there's violence, if there's aggression, if there's leaking, what we call, and a lot of times in secondary obedience, or we're trying to achieve clarity, any vocalization, especially aggression based, when you can have a well-placed dominant dog collar, and you can just, even with your fingertips, slightly take leash pressure, take a slightly bit of oxygen, make them realize that there's possible that their deprivation of oxygen could be forthcoming. It's a whole different message to the brain. It is not a fighting signal. because electronics and prongs around the neck tap into predatory fighting signals. So when they're babies, 4 or 5 weeks old, and there's puppy MMA going on in the whelping box, when there's teeth around the neck, they're training each other to realize those are fighting signals. So when the teeth are around the neck, and of course the prong collar mimics teeth around the neck, electronics, the contact points can mimic teeth. Those can be fighting cues, man. So
Okay.
I highly recommend dominant dog collar, even with a second handler, double handled. The second handler is just hooked into a flat collar or something to anchor and stabilize the dog. The handler can bookend and put the pressure on the dog to make him understand, don't fight. Your air comes back to your body when the aggression stops. And they learn to find their advantage quickly if you have good timing and good role players.
Okay. Yeah, so we got another question. He said, how does the dog know who the predator is without the coat in real life? So I think he meant prey, but yeah.
I'd say that again. I broke up a little bit.
Yeah, he said, how does the dog know who the predator is without the coat in real life? But I think he meant prey.
Well,
so
it
as
kind
far
of
as like
on the
without,
context, man. So
okay.
Is he referring to like handler aggression?
Yeah, I think so. So I think he's saying
there's
without
warning signs.
Yeah, with like out in, so like if you like when you were on the force, I guess, how would the dog know who the prey was, like who he was supposed to attack and who he wasn't?
Oh, very good question, man. And that comes down to chemistry, man. So, and it comes down to the dog having experience. So when somebody's fighting with the police and doesn't want to go back to jail, or they just did a lick, man, they did a crime, they're on the run, or they're fighting, their body is distributing or emitting different chemistry than you and I chilling right now, just having this conversation about dogs, right? So their adrenaline dump, the pheromones, the endorphins are through the roof, right? And those are chemical signals that the dog's nose is receptive to. So we always hear that the dog's sense of smell is 1 million, 2 million. Everybody's got a different number, but we know the dog's sense of smell is way better than a human. Yeah. It's not just their ability to smell, it's their ability to receive chemical signals, right? And they can process those chemical signals and get imprinted. So when a dog bites a human being on the street for the very first time, when they lay teeth into somebody, and assuming it goes well, they win that fight, the intake of the odor is through the whole scent picture of the bad guy's chemistry, right? So once they realize that set of chemistry, that odor picture, that scent picture, he was a dangerous dog that would bite cops if I let him. He just wanted to bite whatever. He was not a clear dog. My second dog, he's a German Shepherd. I could send him through a crowd of people on the bad guy, and he would. I didn't teach him that. Life, his genetics and life taught him that, right? So every dog's different, but that's how the chemical signals get imprinted in these dogs, and that's what allows them to track through to do scent discrimination in high contaminated areas. So it's something that's an evolution through very good experience on the street. Dogs getting a lot of reps, and in South Florida, it's off the chain, man. It's nonstop. The dogs got work all the time. So guys and gals that handle dogs in sleepy little towns that don't see a lot of work, those dogs have to be even better because they get less experience.
Okay. Yeah. So this video, I'm pulling videos because I think they kind of go with the conversation.
Boogeyman. Yes. So for me, man, that's the missing link in any aggression training. So whether it's police dogs, it's personal protection, it's sport dogs, anything. So for me, what Boogeyman does, it does definitely tie into that last question. So it teaches the dogs real world predatory aggression. It's not suits, it's not sleeves, it's not muzzles, not hidden, anything. Like I'm using a rubber prosthetic arm in that video. But what the Boogeyman does, it puts the dog in a situation where they're not in a training environment. So when I set this scenario up, there's a spot
Yeah, you're
that the handler
breaking up.
will walk the dog out on just a leash and some bullshit collar. Obviously, it's safe, but not a collar that cues the dog for aggression. Sorry, man. I'm not sure what part you heard of. I'm down to one bar, man. You hear me? Or no?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so the boogeyman setup is important so the dog's not cued for training. That's the most important part. So we pick a spot the dog's never been. Ideally, it's at night, an alleyway, low light, something the dog just thinks it's going for a piss break. So I'll be laid down with a ghillie suit on, a stupid Halloween mask, something to cover me up at a great distance. And again, low light's ideal. So the handler comes out to a predetermined spot and just stands there, picks his nose, bro, like acts like he's just staring off into space. And then I'll do something to get the dog's attention, man. Like maybe I'll break a stick, a tree branch, or I'll crinkle up an empty plastic bottle, just as something to get him looking down range. And I'm always laid low. Then I start creeping and crawling towards them, and bro, you'll see some dogs that are strong on sport fields shit themselves, bro. Like they're like, what in the fuck is this? and what we're looking for is the dog to just defend its space. It may give a low growl. It may lean into the collar, man. It may, obviously you don't want the dog retreating. We want some type of expression of the dog's going to say, shit, there's something in my environment I have to deal with, right? And it's real world conflict, man. It's fight, flight, or freeze. It's not prey. It's not, jumping up and down with sleeves and suits. It is something is going to eat me unless I do something. And that something could be a footstep forward. It could be a low growl. It could be, obviously we want active aggression, but anything that the dog does to defend itself or its territory, the decoy jumps up and runs and prey immediately. And the dog switches gears from that. It could be insecure aggression in the beginning.
Okay.
But once the dog learns that his aggression can make prey, whoa, it's a whole new chapter of a book for the dog. And it is so empowering for these animals. And people say, well, where's the reward bite? The reward is the flight of the threat. And then the empowerment that his aggression created that. So, and I do this with every single patrol dog I get my hands on, man. So we do it as part of my patrol dog training a lot. Now, the problem with the exercise is that you'll no longer be able to take a dog for a piss break on leash because he's going to know. And bro, they love it so much. They look for this fucker everywhere you go. And that's the idea, is that we want the dogs, his jurisdiction's a county or whatever, a city, the city becomes their playground.
So how do you keep them from doing that like in a regular setting? So if you did take them through the city and like, let's say it was just like, like a homeless guy laying on the sidewalk.
Yep.
That happened to twitch the wrong way and they hit the switch. Like, how do you keep them from reacting to that?
So it's a number of different pieces of the puzzle. So it's capping, it's impulse control, and it's also back to that original video of the food in the hand. We're making her look at your eyes, right? So, and a lot of times too, if a dog is tracking deep in scent and he stays on the track knowing that target odor of the bum isn't what he's looking for, that's an experienced dog, that's a clear dog with good training and good genetics. My last dog wasn't that guy. My last dog was the one that would sound off at that bum, and I would simply redirect him to his track. They have to have an off switch. You have to be able to cap them. So I'd much rather a dog who's low threshold and lit, he's all about it, and I gotta cap him and I gotta make him go stay on task, than a dog that instead of you're trying to hope that he does that kind of work. So it just comes down to impulse control.
Yeah, but that has to be hard to manage, especially with the younger pups.
Yep.
Because they're so full of energy.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And I have some videos, man, that with my last patrol dog, where he's doing detection and gets released for a bite. So that's heavy impulse control. And for a dog to go use his nose to find odor, he's a drug dog, to find odor in the presence of a decoy is not easy. That's really switching gears. So dogs can do secondary obedience, healing and downing, and get released to go bite. That's difficult. Don't get me wrong. But for a dog to switch gears, to use it to shut off the decoy and go into hunt, to actively use his nose to find target, to find source, target point on it, then get released either to come back to heel for a reward from me or to get sent for a bite, that's on another level, man. And, you know, I did that kind of work after I even retired. But for me, that's fascinating shit, bro. So, you know, guys and gals who work military working dogs overseas, you know, they experience that stuff daily. So they'll go into an environment where they got to send the dog in and get multiple bites, right? Clear a house, pull all the bodies out, and now immediately go back into the same house and look for explosives. So folks that have worked dogs in high drive, and especially have bit human beings for a living, know that's the pinnacle of drive. Like there's no high, even breeding, right? Some dogs go crazy for breeding. Like biting a human being and getting that blood is a whole nother gear, right? So to maintain that level of clarity and to be able to switch gears from detection to aggression, to me, that's, you know, I'm a behavior geek, man. That's to me crazy shit. So I played with it a little bit, but folks that do that in the real world, man, that's another level.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I'm watching this video here, and I'm just wondering how much pressure do you feel in the suit?
Well, it depends on the level of suit, man. That particular suit is a heavy suit. It's like a police training suit. So, you know, the ring suits, the Demon A's and the ALM suits, they have competition, which, bro, like, is like a Carhartt jacket. There's nothing to it. And it's murder, bro. So, you know, semi-comp or semi-training is, I usually semi-training, man. Like I said, you know, we talked before, man. I've been in the suit, you know, 25, 30 years, and I'm banged up, bro. So I'm not looking to get any more hickeys. I know if the dog's biting correctly, I don't need to feel it, man. So I'm over that shit. But these young bucks like to get beat up in those little light suits. That's not for me anymore, man. But, you know, you can wear the competition or semi-comp and pad up underneath with the gauntlets. Yeah, it looks like scuba suit material. That helps.
So what's happening here in this video?
That's actually a decoy school that I did years and years ago down in South Florida, and I'm just, you know, showing the guys that, you know, some of the things we call that shit stunt bites now, right? So it's just flinging the dog up on my shoulder, doing a little barrel roll. It's a very, very strong dog. I'm sure he's retired now, man. That was many years ago, but that dog was a beast. So yeah, it's just showing the dog can handle pressure, not only just hang on for the ride, but actually fight back.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so Fletcher Swain, he said he really appreciates it. He said respect from Florida. And we got a couple more comments. How do you manage a high drive adult game dog like a pit bull?
Not easy, man. Not easy. You gotta dumb down the stimulus, man. So whatever the distraction is, you got to use something that's super low. Like if he's crazy to bite suits and sleeves, do your control work or do your distraction work with a PVC pipe, a metal pipe, something that he'll bite, but he's not over the top to bite.
Yeah. And
you slowly introduce higher stimulus at a rate the dog can manage. Like you don't go from the metal pipe to a suit and he'll fucking go to orbit. And a strong dog, a game dog like that, the more pain you put on him, more pain compliance, the harder he gets.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not easy, man. Not easy. Little baby steps, little increments.
Yeah. And he also said, or change the behavior of an adult high drive dog.
It can, for sure, and also sometimes change the language, man. So if your words are dirty, if heel or foos means he's thinking about coming up the leash, you got to do exactly that. Change the command, change the behavior, change the environment. And I see that a lot in electronics. What happens is folks will jump into a high drive situation, put the e-collar on the dog, and start going up and up and up. The dog hits an aversive level of stimulation and has an impulse to sink his teeth into you. And I don't give a shit how strong you are, how tough you are. If the dog puts his teeth on you, you're going to drop the remote to fight him, or you're going to drop the remote to crawl into a fetal position and die and hope that your buddy save you. Either way, the dog's teeth hit you, and the electronics stops. So the dog learns immediately, I can shut the collar off by sinking my teeth into you. And then you got problems.
Yeah, you got big problems.
Yep.
So once they taste blood, how do you hold on. We got another question. What are the benefits of the chameleon collar?
Oof, that's a whole long conversation, bro. So that is the Ferrari of e-collars, man. So real quick rundown is that there are e-collar distributors. I won't name names so I don't get sued, but that they're electronics. So every the way electronic collars stimulate, there's a patent on each one. Each company has their own patent on the way the collar stimulates. There are some companies that their stimulation delivers a contracting stimulation. It grabs muscle and locks it up. I think we've seen this. You'll stimulate the dog on continuous, their heads turn like they're doing a shrug at the gym, right? So their heads will turn, you can see the muscle contract. For me, that clouds learning, that clouds thinking, that interrupts the moment, and the dogs deal with the contraction instead of going into the behavior that you want or stopping the unwanted behavior. The chameleon, the Martin system, delivers an activating stim. It's like it flicks muscle. So dogs drive into behavior faster. One of the greatest attributes of that system is that it's got contact measurement. It tells you if the contact points are touching skin or not. And they just came out with a new system that's got an app that you can use on your Apple Watch. You can use it on your iPhone. I think it's I think it can be an Android as well. But it tells you if there's contact with the skin from a mile away. It tells you the dog's body temperature from a mile away. Like, the technology is insane. But the biggest problem with electronic training is not knowing whether there's contact with the skin. Like, the dog will have a couple hairs or be in a position where there's one contact point not right. You're going up, up, and up, and up, and all of a sudden the dog's shoulder pushes the contact points into the neck, and now you have a huge involuntary overstim, or now your words are dirty, the dog feels pain where you don't want him to. So the contact with the skin is gold. The other amazing feature of the Martin system is rising stim. So with most e-collars, you got to hold the button down and dial up with two hands. Rising stim on the Martin system is that you set the pre-stim. So you're working a dog on number 3. That's a really low level. You can hold the button down and it'll climb the ladder until the collar maxes out if you want it. And then when you let off the button, it goes back to the original level.
Okay.
So you don't have to look at it, man. You can just hold the button on continuous and rise the stim as you need it. And then if you just want to work on the same level, you just tap, release, tap, release. So, brother, and I'm not a mechanical guy whatsoever, man. I just keep it very simple. There's so many features, so much amazing technology that Bart and Michael Bellin have developed with the Martin system that I'm not even qualified to speak about it, man. I'm a simple person. I keep shit simple, but as a whole, those are the 3 main factors why the Chameleon is a super, super product, superior product.
Yeah. So that's a collar that you would recommend?
Yeah, but it ain't cheap, brother. So I train with the Martin system. Like most of my clients, the price point's high. So I'm also a distributor for e-collar technology, which delivers a blunt stimulation. So it's not quite activating, but it's definitely not contracting. It's a very clean, blunt stimulation. The price point is much lower for most folks, for the mini educator. So I train with the Martins, and of course, if the folks want that Ferrari, I can get it for them, no problem, and they want that. But for the most part, they go home. My folks go home with a mini educator.
Okay. And how much is the Martins?
It varies, man. Like, I don't even have the top shit, bro, because I can't afford it. So it's like all the bells and whistles, bro. You're up to around 2 G's, like with the top products that they have. So I use the micro system. I just got a Chameleon 3, but they came out with a Chameleon 3B. It's with all the apps and all that. I don't have that. So I have the micro, which is the same exact technology as the Chameleon, but it's just not as sexy. It's a smaller box. And I have it on the Martin's extender, which, another great product they have is a multi-brand extender, which allows you to have multiple contact points around the dog's neck for comfort. You have a much less likelihood of necrosis. And any manufacturer's collar, whether it's Dogtra, Garmin, e-collar tech, can bolt to the Martin system multi-brand extender. So it enhances contact and comfort for the dog. Okay.
So the Chameleon 3 is that's the newest.
No, the Chameleon 3B, which I haven't even got my hands on, man. They just launched it. They just launched the product a couple days ago. So I haven't even got my hands on it or seen all of its capabilities.
Yeah, that's nuts. $2,000.
Well, it's with a finger kick, with a CTT remote. Like there's different remotes.
Yeah.
You have a lot of options, man. So
Okay.
folks who really want to get into the Martin system, you want to go to Mike Lynch is the guy, is a contact for that. Let me pull up. He is Top Notch Canine Equipment. So it's T as in Tango, N as in November, TK9equipment.com. So if you just Google Top Notch Canine Equipment, you're gonna find Mike Lynch, and he's really the source in America for the Martin system. Oh, look at you, man! You're a wizard with that.
Yeah, man. I like having eye candy, man.
Yeah, I see it. Yep. So he's got all the toys there, man. I don't even know if he's got the new stuff in or not, but he's the guy for it.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, that's crazy.
A lot of stuff, man. And the finger kick too. So I mentioned that briefly. What that is, it's like a little ring you wear on your finger, and it's connected by Bluetooth. So the remote is separate. The remote's in your pocket, and you have the Bluetooth. Now, why that's important is that it allows you to multitask. Like you don't have to have a big brick remote in your hand, and this way you can handle leashes, you can handle rewards, toys, food, whatever it may be. But for competitors, the dogs know when that remote's in your hand, right? Yeah. So also you can have a finger kick synced, multiple finger kicks synced to the same collar. So for competitors, while you're healing, doing your secondary obedience, send the dog into the blind for a bark and hold in IGP. The decoy can also have a finger kick to keep them clean when you can't see the dog. Same for building search, area search, recalls, and law enforcement. So the technology has allowed us to communicate with the dogs on a whole nother level and a whole nother level of clarity. So all the toys are out there, man. Now it's like a mortgage around the dog's neck, but the training's going to be good.
Yeah, but it's worth it. It's worth it if you use it correctly. It's worth it
for professionals and people that want the best tools. For sure, the Martin system.
Okay. Yeah. So Fletcher said, when you first get aboard and train, do you start eye contact first? And when do you introduce the place command?
Great questions, man. So very first thing, nothing begins without ignition. What that simply means is the drive, the desire to engage and to work. And I need him. Again, most dogs will come around for food at some point in time, for sure. I give them many, many opportunities. And some people call it starving. No, it's not. I'm offering the food all the time to the dog, but it's just a little bit different context. So once they learn to manipulate me to give them what they need to live, so we call that existential training. They're not just working for caviar, bits of hot dogs, scratches on the back. They're working to survive, and that makes sense to a predator. They're wolves by their DNA. I got a little Morkie in right now, a little 5-pound Morkie, bro. His DNA goes back to a wolf. Like, he gets it. He understands it work for food, and he's all about it. I posted a video of him yesterday. So that's the very first thing, is ignition and engagement. And without that, we have to go to a little bit of mild leash pressure. So we have to have a motivator, whether it's motivating through food reward or motivating to shut off light, annoying feelings. That's first.
Okay.
And once I have that ignition, the very first thing I do is charge my clicker or charge my marker. So I'll use clicker first. Then I also overlay a verbal marker. I use the word yes, because when we start using electronics and my hands are occupied, I don't want to have to use a click. So I will use a verbal marker. But in the beginning, I charge my clicker. So ignition, charge my markers, and then I'll start working on name recognition. And then I go into place pretty quickly too. So.
Okay. And he said, do you layer in eye contact with stimulation of collar?
Well, once they know the behavior well, with no stimulation, once they're offering it operantly, then I can overlay. I'll use negative reinforcement to overlay the behavior that they're offering already, yes.
Okay. Yeah, man. Well, this has been good, man. We're at an hour. I know you're on the road. On your way down to Florida for some work.
Yep.
I appreciate you coming on the show. We may have to get you back on for another episode when you're sitting still.
Anytime, man. I'm grateful for the opportunity, man. I really appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah, man. I definitely appreciate you. and he is on Instagram if you need him. And I'll tag him in the link. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, hit up that business, man. I got 2. Cool, man.
You broke up again.
That. Yeah, I got 2 Instagram accounts, man. You got me now or no?
Yep, you good.
You there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I messed up, bro. I made a personal Instagram first and then a business later. So if I really appreciate if folks want to hit me up on the business. It's the K9 Services Unlimited one. It's letter K, number 9, Services Unlimited.
Yep, and I'll tag you. I'll make sure I tag you when I repost it, and we'll get you going.
Very good, man. Thanks again, man. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Be safe on the road. I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Take care.
We're out of here.
Bye-bye.